that's on me, but anyway, I'm still afraid he's going to sue me one day. So.
Well, that gets into a really good question that I had about, and that was going to be towards the end, but I am curious, like writing memoirs, how do you approach those real relationships? Like, do you have to get permission, especially from your family and all the people?
Yeah, I mean, so the short answer is it depends on your own ethics and your own situation. So with BFF, I ran into a couple of obstacles. Most of them were internal, and then they became external. So with my first book, I reached out to everyone. I sent this draft to everybody, and then I sent them updated drafts, and I was just like so worried I didn't want anybody to be not like me because of my little bookie book. And then when I got to BFF, I just felt a little stronger, and the pendulum went way the other way. I was like, I can write what I want. If other people have feelings, they can go talk to their therapist. And really, we didn't talk about my relationship with Anna in the book, my frenemy who I was super jealous of. And she's a writer, and I write a lot about her. And she was like a huge figure in my head. And we went on trips together, and I kept not telling her I wrote about her. Like, I got the galleys, didn't send her one. I got the actual book. It's November. The book's coming out in February. And I was like, I have to tell her. But then, it's like, it gets to be too late. And then you're like, but I have to tell her. And she's my feelings were about me and my sister, but I was putting them all over her. And finally, one day I called her. It was like the week before Thanksgiving. I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I wrote a book and you're in it. And she was like, I'm so scared. And I was like, you should be. I said, I believe that I've disguised you. Whatever. You can imagine. So I go over to her. She's like, let me talk to my therapist and I'll call you back. And I'm like, great. Happens to be my therapist too. Fine, whatever.
You're in separate groups though.
It's a weird life. What can I say? Okay. Gave me 2 books. And so then she called me back and she's like, can we get together? I went to her house. I gave her the book. We had tea. And I wish I would have done it sooner. It happened the way it happened. And that's just how.
Did you have to change any? I mean, I guess
it was too late. But I had really, really disguised her, and she understood, A, because she's a writer, and B, she has a ton of spiritual recovery, and she was able to see. We were mirror images of each other. I didn't know she was jealous of me in the same way I was jealous of her. Like, we both had the same sister thing, and we just came together, and we had that kind of chemical reaction. And I still see her at least 4 or 5 times a year, or sometimes we call each other. It's such a blessing. And there's a totally minor character in there. Like, Meredith was getting married, and her friend, yes, Phoebe with the fudge. Okay, so this book is going along. I have the galleys, which is the promotional things that come out, promotional version of the book before the real thing. And a friend of mine pulls me aside. She's like, I think you need to show this to Phoebe. And I'm like, Phoebe's not going to read this book. Phoebe doesn't know me. Phoebe, whatever. And I didn't do anything I just thought it's so minor, and everything was true. Truth is a defense, but not against people being very upset that you wrote about them.
And she had no idea, I think, that the fudge was such a big incident for Meredith.
She didn't know that I had sat through hours and hours of Meredith talking about the fudge, even when Meredith was dying and she's still talking about the fudge. And so I get 2 weeks before BFF comes out in February of 2023, I get a letter on this cream letterhead, and it's from BB. And I'm like, I thought it was a cease and desist. And I was like, oh my God. I'm driving, and
of all people who you thought might derail the book, she was probably the
least. I was just thinking of her as such a minor character. I just never thought she'd get it. She somehow got an early copy. I don't know how that happened. I have no idea how she got it. It was not out yet. And she was like, I saw how you described me. There's a way that I describe, there's a lot of stuff is hidden, but there's 2 things that's actually who she is in the world that she is sensitive about. And I wasn't kind about it. I just wasn't kind about it. And I wish it didn't need to be there. And as soon as I saw her, once I knew I wasn't getting sued, I was like, oh my God. And I sat and then the first paragraph is, I saw what you wrote about me. I know people don't like this XYZ about me, and I stand behind it. And I was like, okay. And then she went on to say, I loved Meredith very much, and your book is going to be wonderful. People are going to love, like, it's so kind and so generous. And I sat with it for a little while, and then I wrote her a letter back, and I said, you know, I got this wrong. I would do this so differently. You deserve better treatment, and I hope I get to write again about you and do you right. I hope that that's what I can do, and I promise you going forward, I will bring a better version of myself to every character like that. I tell that story to tell on myself because she handled it so, she was so classy about it, and it was so unnecessary. And I always tell Memoir, it's like, and especially someone warned me, someone said to me, aren't you going to show this to BB? And I was like, no, BB who? And then I got a letter. So it's like, just think about who I have to think. I think about who do I want to be when this is in every person's hands. That part is, I mean, being sued isn't going to happen, but having integrity and being able to look the world and anyone you meet in the eye, you don't want to besmirch your work with shame about having done it wrong, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I think just you thinking through those relationships and like how to approach that is probably a big part of the writing process too.
Yes.
So I guess like, I think a lot of your writing reminds me that we're never going to totally quiet that voice in our head, the negative voice, but like through, it seemed to me like through your conversations with Meredith, she maybe became that more positive voice in your head, or it helped you learn how to just like acknowledge those thoughts and then ignore them. So how do you, without that, you know, person here now, how have you continued that?
I would say that I deputize anybody who's around me to be that person. Like, I think the part of Meredith that I carry with me, so many parts, but one of them is when I would say things to her and she would say, me too. Like, I know me too has a different cultural meaning, but to me, it's like, it's the friendliest thing you could ever say to someone. Like, oh, me too. Oh, I'm scared of my boss. And I also kind of want to sleep with him, you know, oh, me too, you know, and I'm self-employed. It's very weird. So like last night we had a party for my husband just turned 50. And so we had this party, and I'm super extroverted, but I'm also super socially anxious. So it's like a bad combination. And I could tell like halfway through the party that I was going to have that hangover where I was going to lay in bed and like, why'd I say that? Why I didn't talk to her. I think that group over there hates me. Oh, they only like my husband. They don't even like me. And there was this group of people that my daughter's in high school, and there's a group of parents who were like cool kids. You know, I'm super immature after all this, but like they're cool, and they're all going to Spain for spring break for this big thing, and like we're going to Arizona, which is awesome, but it's not Spain, and we're going by ourselves. And it's just like that feeling was just, the social was just building up. And I was like, I'm just going to tell somebody, I need to get back in my body. I need a me too. And I walked up to this poor woman, and she was like waiting for her husband. Like, she's, you know, you're standing in the door and you're waiting for your husband. She's got her coat and his coat. And I was like, I'm going to have such a hangover tomorrow. And she's like, oh, but you don't drink. I was like, no. Like the emotional thing where you're like, why did I say that? And why did I say this? And I just told her everything. She's like, oh my God. I said to your friends, Leslie and Michael, that I remembered them because I saw y'all on the street together in 2017, and they think I'm a huge stalker. And I'm like, they totally don't think that, but I know she believes that. And just having that, I got back into my body, you know, that feeling of like, okay, I'm back in my body. I've made a true connection with someone, not tried to like work the room in whatever way that means. And so I think like before I probably would have held it in and then called Meredith this morning with the hangover, like, you know, and because that's not available to me, I've had to like disperse it and find other people to help me hold it and let me hold it for them. And even when I got into bed, normally the reel starts of like kind of the reel of shame. I don't even drink, and there's like a reel of shame. And all I could think about, like, that was so nice of my friend to tell me that she was kind of embarrassed that she said that she remembered meeting this friends of mine, you know, 8 or 9 years ago. And I was like, oh, and so I can hold that close to me instead of like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, that's not helpful.
Well, it's helpful to hear that other people like have those same social anxieties, even though we don't perceive them that way at all.
Yeah.
So, but I think has do you do any sort of journaling or have the letters to Meredith? Like, have you continued that? How did the letters start?
Yeah, the letters, I don't know how I just had something happened. I don't know if there's any creatives in the room, but I was working on the book, and I wasn't even thinking like the book like at the beginning in the prologue, she's dead. So, and some guy wrote me, he was like, why'd you put that at the beginning? I didn't want to read it because I knew how it ended. I was like, well, there's the whole story. I mean, I don't know, Ed, don't read it. And then, well, whatever, that's a whole rant. Okay, anyway, back to the question. And I wasn't thinking, like with my first book, I knew exactly how it ended. I could see it. And this one I couldn't see. I was just, I had read, has anybody read any Hanif Abdurraqib?
Yes, I'm obsessed with him.
Obsessed, right? Obsessed. Yeah, I had big runner, lots of Nikes, following on Instagram. I had just read his book called In Praise of Black Performance, Little Devil in America, In Praise of Black Performance. And it's like his love letter to Josephine Baker and Whitney Houston and early Michael Jackson. And I was like, I want to write a book that's like animated by love. Like love. And my first book's like more about anxiety and where's my boyfriend, and I was like, this is a book about love in the way that I felt like Hanif's was. So I think the way to, and it also just, I was literally just sitting in Harold, Washington, and I was like, I'm going to write her a letter. And I was like, oh, maybe that's how the book, it wasn't conscious, but then I had a story once I'd written the letters, I was like, oh, this is how you stay close to someone in the transition from death. You still write them and talk to them and communicate with them. And I never had that experience before.
Well, and I love that she continued to be your guide, even after everything. Like, she's still there for you. And it was a great way, I thought, to kind of wrap up all the storylines of all the different characters.
Yeah, I was not conscious. It was like a gift from the universe. And there was something I tried to work into this book in every draft and everywhere. Meredith used to always say, how I do anything is how I do everything. And I thought that was so profound. And I could not figure out, I think I haven't metabolized it enough to figure out how to put it in the book, but I use it every day. Like, if you eat fast, you're going too fast. Like, I mean, that's a very lame example, but I'm still grappling with things that she told me on the street where we were running all those years ago.
Yeah, I mean, her lessons just stick with you, which is amazing. So I think, I don't know, hopefully we got the topics of the book or like themes of the book, but identity was a really strong one for me, and just like working through different identities as you go through different stages of life. So how did your friendship with Meredith kind of help shape your identity, and how have you learned to like let go of old identities that are no longer serving you?
Yeah, I think there was something about the magic of her Me Too and she's the one who asked me if I wanted to work on friendship together, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, oh, I want to be a bride. I want to go running. I don't want to talk. I just knew it was going to be painful. I knew I was going to mess up, and I was going to have to work through some gnarly stuff, and I just didn't really want to do it. And so I would say what she helped me with the most was, because I could see in her when she'd tell me stuff about her sisters and her mom, I would think, well, that's just a narrative. And maybe your parents taught you that, or maybe you just made it up in your kid brain and it stuck to you, or maybe it's part of being in an addictive family or whatever, but it's also still, at the end of the day, just a narrative that you could write another one. Yeah. So if she had just been talking to me, like that's what happens in therapy, right? Like, my therapist tells me things or whatever, but like there was something about the mutual, we were both in the same place doing the same thing. It was like, I could see her narrative and then she could see mine, and we could both go, well, you can change, like we're pointing at each other. And I think that was the magic of it. There wasn't a professional around. It was just two people with good intentions for each other, and then eventually for ourselves, just moving forward. And I was able to let go of like, now I can't imagine standing on the street corner telling Meredith, like, I'm the loser sister, I'm the ugly sister, I'm the sister, the not shiny sister. Like, I don't even really think like that anymore. I don't think I'm now the shiny one. I think those paradigms have just harmed me, and I think they've harmed my sister, and I don't want them anymore. So I got to find new language.
And you were able to help like rewrite the narrative through mirroring Meredith kind of mirroring it back to you. essentially.
Totally, yes.
I love that. What's your vision of friendship now?
That's such a good question. I feel like it's like Anne Lamott. I'm stealing this totally from Anne Lamott. She said, I saw her speak recently, maybe it was a couple years ago, and she said, aren't we all just walking each other home?
And
I thought that was just so, I just think like, because when I think like what's gotten me in trouble in friendship in the past is like kind of hierarchy, like, and I'm not proud of it. It's like, it's still in there, like who's got more money. And like last night we had people over to our house, and like some of these people live in like mansions, and I'm like, we're going to be stuffed into my little house eating tacos, and that's what we're doing. And to let go of that and to just like be in a circle and be a witness and to be open. My slogan that I picked in the middle, I pick a new slogan every July, and I stole it from Jenny Holzer. Had an exhibit at the Guggenheim in New York, and where it was like electronic messages were going up the stairs and they would change every few seconds. And I just looked up at one point and I snapped a picture, and it said, I keep the hole open, which kind of sounds nasty, but so I like it, but I just like, yeah, but it's not cheesy, it's got that going for it. But I just think to just be open, and to like let all the hierarchy and the who has what and whose kids are going where, like just all of the hierarchy and the external stuff, to just put that to the side and just meet someone like heart to heart.
Yeah, I think like that was what really resonated with me, because I've had that same sort of like issue throughout probably all of my friendships of like this constant almost one-upping, or like I said during the run, friends who married guys who have great jobs and now they can become stay-at-home moms and just go to their like country club or whatever. So I think and maybe it's just growing myself, but also getting a little bit older, it's like finding my own path has helped me just not care so much about everyone else's paths.
Yes, I think that's hugely helpful. Also, just knowing who my true people are. Like at the end of the day, like it doesn't have to be everybody, but the people whose values, the friends in my life whose values match mine, like they're always safe. And I'll put my energy there, and it's never wasted time. And it's such a comforting feeling to find someone whose values align with my own.
Yeah, and through kind of reconnecting the pandemic, it sounds like going back to your high school friends.
Yes.
Like you still have those same values. So what are some of the good things that arose out of like going through this journey that maybe even writing the book helped you realize they were good things in your life?
Yeah, I would say for sure, when y'all were talking about reconnecting with my high school friends, we still Zoom every Sunday. And I will Zoom after this and meet up with them. And that's crazy. Who's still Zooming? It's like, what?
That is crazy.
It is crazy. We're almost at 5 years. And I still sometimes, like, there'll be a portion of a conversation where they'll talk about, like, I missed all their weddings. I missed it. And at least their first weddings. And
and you were the ones here for the ones that counted.
Yeah, the ones that stuck. I was it. And I just feel always, I haven't lost that gratitude I had the first time I logged on, and it was May 30th of 2020. And I like took a shower and whatever, and I logged on. I still feel like that today when I get in my car and I dial in, or when I get home. I still feel like this is such a privilege. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. And now, I mean, I'm 51. They're all 51. We're all 51. And, things are happening in our lives that are like really show you, and maybe this happens at all ages, but like there's, our parents are sick. Our children are imperiled psychologically. And there's all these things happening. And it's like, to be held closely every Sunday by this group of people who've known me since I was 14. I mean, somebody I talked to on the run has a best friend from kindergarten.
Wow.
I don't know where she is, but oh yeah. I didn't recognize you when you weren't running. Sitting still. And I still feel that little pang of like, oh, that's so special. And like I don't know how to get, I don't have that. And it just feels like such a special thing. And I'm grateful I can go back as far as I can. Not that we have to fetishize long-term relationships, but it is a special thing that I didn't have for so long that I just still don't take it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think, and just the whole, like, it brought the book to, I mean, not that you did it for purposes of the book, but I think just it, like, seeing that came full circle. My last question, and then I think we can open it up to questions, is just how, like, all of the memories, how did you resurrect those, like, things from childhood? I don't remember that much. Like, did you journal throughout your life, or how did you?
I definitely do journal. I did the artist way in 2020, so I do does anyone know this? 3 longhand pages. I still do it, but that only takes me back to 2020. And I have kept journals, which are so horrifying to look back at. But I have two things I would say. I have a really good memory, but also I have a memory. The things that I stewed over stayed really fresh. And, you know, the benefit of being a writer at the end of the day, the great Carmen Maria Machado, if y'all know her memoir, In the Dream House. I love her memoir. She's also got fiction and short stories. She's very awesome. Anyway, I saw her give a talk, and she talked about a memoir is still creative nonfiction, right? So you create, you know, I can remember like the sliver of a thing that happened in my family, and then it's my job to build a scene around it. And I know the kitchen was yellow. I know what I felt. And then the rest is not made up, but it's conjured from memory. It's a work of art. And so I have a good memory for all the things I hold a grudge about. And that's what I write about. So I'm not sure that serves me in all of my life, but it works for writing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, would love to hear any other questions. Anyone have any?
I have kind of a question and a thought. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you.
Your book was amazing. I think about it almost every day. And I recently saw a review once I finished your book, and someone was like, "Oh my goodness, like, how does she write like this? Like, I wouldn't want a friend like that." And I wrote back the opposite, and I'm like, I would want a friend like that, to have that self-awareness that a lot of people are missing, because we all show up and we're all so imperfect. And so I just want you to know, like, I appreciate that you, like, I think that's what draws me is, like, you're so vulnerable and, like, you show up and as yourself. And so it's just amazing, and I appreciate that. And so my question is, like, in friendships, how do you, like, let that go, showing up as yourself?
You know, I think it probably comes from, and maybe some of it's age, like we talked earlier, like the older you get, you're sort of like, you know, who am I fooling? What am I doing? You know? But also I think I got so much practice in my relationship with Meredith, being in 12-step groups, going to group therapy twice a week since I was 29 and, you know, still going. I think that I've sort of, those muscles are very well developed in me. And, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Some people don't want, I mean, sometimes I meet people that are like, oh, you wrote that book? And they're like, they slowly, and I get it. I understand. Like, I don't have a friend who's a memoirist. No one's ever written about me and the things that I've done. So I can accept that. And I also know that my life is richer because the people who I'm around and who I love do the same thing I do. I didn't make any of it up. I'm borrowing from all my friends and the people who I sit in group with and recovery. And so I think it no longer feels brave. It just feels like the only way, you know, not to say I'm never phony or whatever, but like in general, it's the only way. Like I've arranged my whole life to be real and vulnerable. And so it's so much work to clean up afterwards, you know, having withheld something or not address something, that's so much work. It's easier to just do it on the front end, you know. I guess I'm lazy, you know, that helps. I don't want to work hard later. Let's just do it today.
I mean, that's such a like testament to group therapy and also recovery meetings. So I feel like just being able to be in rooms where everyone is being honest and trying to be authentically themselves and working through that.
I have a question, but does anybody else have a question? Okay, I want to know, I told you I read group as well, and you touched a little bit on your parents in this book, but also in group. And I would just like to know, like, your mom's reaction, and also how your relationship with your mom may or may not have changed after publishing
Yeah.
has she written?
Yes.
I have a very Catholic mother as well, and I cannot
Okay.
like even if I post on social media, she's just like,
Yes.
"Why are you posting about that?" So
Yes. So my mom has read both my books, and I was very scared. Like the first thing, like I got my book deal, and I was like, "Yay!" And they're like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do about my mother? Like, what am I gonna do?" Luckily, publication takes so long that there's plenty of time to do the work you need to do. So if you have a memoir brewing, come talk to me. But so after I sent my parents' group and did with nothing in the envelope except the book. And then my mom, I have to say both of my parents, but my mom is the more private and the more Catholic. And can you imagine reading about your daughter's sexcapades? I cannot. And she was so generous. She said, and I could tell all of us, first I talked to my dad and then my mom took the phone, and I feel like everyone was like screwing up their courage to have this conversation. And I heard my mom say, I feel so much sorrow. She said, I feel so sorrowful. She goes, oh no, that's 3 syllables. Because in the book, my therapist had taught me that feelings have 2 syllables. She's like kept saying sorrow, that all these things happened, and that, you know, she did the thing of like, I couldn't save you from this. And then I got to say, well, you weren't supposed to, you know, you're my mom. And then I just give us credit for that's hard. She didn't have to read it, you know, like, she didn't have to read. I didn't have to give it to her. Like some writers are like, it's not for my mom. She can't read it, or she can go buy it and have her own journey, whatever. But I feel really grateful. And my mom was just like, I was really glad when your husband came along and I could stop reading about your sex life. I was like, me too. I could stop writing about it. Oh, and she said when she first got on the phone, she goes, Christie, it was very explicit. I'm 70 years old, you know? And I was like, I know. And at the end of the day, because I had stalled for so long on this one, I knew I was very solid that I have to do this, even if she has feelings about it. I just have to do it. I get to do it. It's a privilege. And also give her some credit. Like I'm not really great at giving my mom credit, but give her some credit that she can handle it, she can read it, she can support me. And then when BFF came out, there was a little more about my family than I wanted to be in there, but it needed to be in there. And she was great. I went to Dallas for part of my book tour. Dallas, where my parents live. My mom went and got a bouquet of flowers that matched the book cover. And then when I went to it was so lovely. And then I went to the book event that night at the Interrobang Books in Dallas. And my mom brought the flowers. How did she know? Like, she'd never been to a book reading. She brought the flowers so it would be pretty on the table.
Aww.
And I just thought me and my parents, we're all rising to the occasion of what this is. And I tell memoirists, you can do whatever you want, but like, don't miss the chance to have that intimacy. And it's going to be uncomfortable if it's anything like my story. And it's so worth it. And now our relationship, one thing I can speak for myself, it's like, I have no secrets, like from anyone, anywhere, but also from my mom. Like, I don't have to pretend like anything. Like, they used to come to town and I'd be like, I'm going to go pick up the dry cleaning. And I would go to group and come back like an hour and a half later with some dry cleaning or whatever. Now it's just like, I'm going to group. Like, I'm just like, I am myself, and I'm not hiding anything from my parents, because what if they knew I was in therapy, which sounds crazy now. So I'm less guarded, and it's easier to have a relationship with me, I think.
I love that. I think that's a great. Oh, one more question. Sorry. No, that's perfect.
I think you touched on this, but so I wouldn't say have a memoir brewing. I would say like pick the type of copy. It's like
Okay, that counts.
So I would say you touched on the two main things that keep coming to mind are like, one, afraid of hurting people, sharing things about people I care about.
Yeah.
Or just don't like, and just that aspect that you mentioned. And 2, it almost feels selfish, like the idea of writing it. Like, so I don't know. What would you say? I'm sure you grappled with those thoughts. Like, what would you say to yourself, before writing these books, or like to me, or
There's a really wonderful article in Poets and Writers magazine, and it's written by Melissa Febos, and it's I can't remember the title of it, but it's essentially she's saying, you writer, I want your story. I want something in praise of navel gazing, I think it is. So, right? And so like a lot of women writers have the voices in their head. Like, who cares about this? Before Group, I remember before Group came out, I had taken the manuscript to a writing workshop in Portland and was workshopping it. And I remember like just throwing my hands up. I was like, who cares about a white lady who wants a boyfriend? And a friend of mine who was in the workshop, she'll just text that to me every now and then. It's like every writer thinks they're like, why have we decided that telling our story is selfish? Like, that's something to sort of look at. I struggle with it too. And so the hurting other people, like, why are we so sure? The question I have for myself is, why am I so sure that my offering to the world is like gonna hurt somebody? Like, that's an interesting, it's not a weapon, it's not a grenade. And I have been, I mean, you don't know this till you know this, right? Like, I didn't know how my high school friends were gonna receive this. And I mean, without a doubt, people have supported and loved and embraced the project, even if they're uncomfortable. And I just think that we tell ourselves, I think to our detriment, I think it's a lot of women get this idea, self-investigation is navel gazing, it's selfish, it's self-indulgent. And I don't know, what if the world needs your story? What if it heals all the people who read it in some fundamental way that only you can do it? Then depriving of them is way more selfish than writing the book, you know? And sometimes I just have to come down to, like, I'm working on a new project and it seems like it's gonna have some memoir aspects. And I'm like, oh my God, no one needs another book from Christie Tate about Christie Tate. And I just keep thinking to myself, who am I hurting? If the market doesn't want it, they won't buy it, right? And there's so many things I could do that would be actually destructive in the world. Like, truly, that if this is my calling, why do I get to like crap all over it? You know, those are hard things because I still work through them too. So welcome to Memoirhood.
Well, and Laura McCowan talks about, like, you're doing it for yourself, it's not necessarily for mass media. Like,
that's
you're
true.
writing as your own process. So it's not egotistical because it's like you said, you know, it's not necessarily for mass market. Like, you're putting it out in the world with hopes that it's going to help someone, but that's not the reason necessarily that you're writing it. So
yeah, and I had recently gone to like a reunion for an old job. I used to work as a lawyer in the federal courthouse, and there was a reunion of everyone who'd worked for this judge, and I was bemoaning this exact thing. I was like, oh, I just feel like I need a purpose. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not part of a team. I'm not helping the world. And she was like, do you think I help the world doing commercial litigation? And I was like, oh, I mean, I'm not going to tell you do or don't, but like what I have conflated in my head, the pot of, should I do this creative project that is a reflection of my own life? There's so many things in there, patriarchy and capitalism and the money, and it's all a big stew that, like, it's an opportunity to like work through that as I do my work. You know, like, I can use it as an excuse not to write the book, or I can look at it and do the work. That's an option too.
It's not about having this huge why of saving the world. It's about having, like, doing the work for yourself and
yes,
putting it out there, and hopefully it helps someone else.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think, yeah. Thank you so much.
Questions?
I just want to say thank you to Allison and to everybody who kept us safe today, the biking, and it's just like, it's really this has been very special, and I want to say thank you. I know this represents so much work to put this all together, so thank you.
Thank you, It's not stopping, but it will one day.
Yes, thank you all.